there's this influencer that I follow on Instagram. She's a Cuban who moved to Jamaica. Right. And the most amusing thing about this is listening to a Cuban with the Latin accent move to Jamaica and picks up the English patois. It's just amazing. For me, it was amazing listening to the difference in the language and that sort of stuff. But anyway, the thing that got me is she and her husband has a lot of cabins. I think some of them on the Blue Mountain and different areas in Jamaica. All her homes are powered in these mountains by solar power. It runs the pumps, it runs everything, it runs the internet, which is via a satellite, all done on green energy. And then she talked about buying a car. And I'm thinking, my God, her business must be making a ton, because you know what EVs cost here in the United States? And you know, if they're selling it in Jamaica, it's probably going to be even more when you talk about the shipping of these EVs to Jamaica, etc. And then she said something about paying $12,000 for her EV. And I said, oh, it must be a secondhand used beat up EV. And no, it's a brand new lime green EV directly from China. And she gives a tour of the car, and the car looks like a spaceship. You know what I mean? With all the features in the cars. $12,000. Why can't we have that here? Well, of course, you know, Biden has a big tariff on EVs to try to get our industry going. Let me digress. We have a tendency to believe that because we say something or we do something, we being 4.5% of the world, that everybody else is, just following our lead, which isn't the case. Brazil gets most of its energy, it's fuel for their cars from a green source. They grow cane, they turn the cane into alcohol, and they burn the alcohol. So they have a cycle that then, that cane pulls out carbon out of the air. And after it pulls the carbon out of the air and it's fermented and turned into alcohol, and that alcohol goes into the car and it's burned, it throws the carbon dioxide back into the air. They grow more cane. The cane takes the carbon dioxide out of the air. It's a form of solar power. People say, how can that be solar power? Well, because photosynthesis depends on the sun, and photosynthesis is how the cane pulls the carbon out of the air and turns it into alcohol, ultimately with the process, and then throws it back into the car and burns. You get the cycle. It's a cycle that says we burn the alcohol, we take it back out with the cane. We burn the alcohol, we take it out with the cane. China now has become a big battery manufacturer, right? And with their alliances with several countries in Africa. Look, I'm not saying that China is some saint at all. China is just another country looking out for whom? China. America is a country looking out for whom? America. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But there's something wrong with how we do things. I interviewed Richard Wolff, and he's talking about America being in end state capitalism. We know capitalism is not sustainable. The mathematics of capitalism says it's not sustainable. You won't learn that in business school, business folks. And anybody who wants to discuss that in detail, please feel free to give us a call at 713-526-5738. But we are in end state capitalism. We finally reached the extractive limits, or the exploitative limits that we have on Americans. And it's costing us a lot. You remember when folks say the reason why we should support these guys making billions and these people making millions, that I always talk about parasites not working or not doing anything. They say the reason we should support that income inequality, that wealth disparity, is because somehow these wealthy people are a cut above and create innovation. That is a lie that we've been told, that you need these excessive profits to have innovation. And I've always dispelled that lie by saying Elon Musk is the one making the money, but his engineers are the ones who are innovative. And what is it that Elon Musk wants the most? Those visas. Elon Musk is going to bring in all these engineers that will work for less. And plus his engineers over here are not millionaires, but they're the ones who create his EV. They're the ones who create his spaceship. They're the ones who create his satellites that communicate across Starlinks. They are the ones who do the work, and none of them are millionaires, right? But they are the ones who actually do the innovation. But he's the one who's worth $400 billion. And the lie we are told that, first of all, that capitalism is the efficient allocation of resources based on supply and demand. It's a lie. It's a lie. When the prices of oil got too low, what did the oil companies do? They went to Saudi Arabia and they say, hey guys, let's create an imaginary shortage. Cut supply by 2 million barrels of oil a day so that the price would go up. This theory that we have here actually has proven a failure, and it has held us back. By having these import taxes on EVs, Biden also was trying to say, you know what? Come on, electric industry. Come on, electric industry. Come, catch up. China is cleaning your clock. Catch up. We're giving you these, we're keeping these Chinese cars out of the American market so that you can catch up. And you know what? Did they do that? No. Elon Musk is still selling a piece of crap of a truck that he claimed was indestructible, that when he did the test, the glass broke, for $80-something thousand dollars to $90,000. Relative to what they sell in China at much better quality, they sell that for under $30,000. The theory, again, as I mentioned, was that somehow creating these multimillionaires are going to create good stuff. What we've done by allowing these parasites, these billionaires, these multimillionaires to extract the money is, instead of investing that into material, instead of investing that into innovation, instead of investing that into all the areas that would bring up our products, we've simply stolen that money, your labor, your excess labor, and passed it on to the few, the corporate heads, the executives, etc. And we're paying the price for it. Now, China has, and you know what? The other thing that we do, when I talk about keeping us uninformed, that is a major, major thing why they get away with it, because we are uninformed. We don't know we don't know what Shanghai looks like, what Beijing looks like, what Xi'an looks like. These are, we have a lot of big cities. China has scores, dozens, hundreds of big cities that are high tech, bullet trains, big bridges. I mean, infrastructure. And by the way, the last time I went to China was in the 90s. And I remember when I got into Hong Kong, got into Xi'an, and it was like, dang, I would have never thought that we don't see this in America. We don't see how these countries are moving forward in America. I have a friend that just got back from South Africa. And by the way, I'm talking BRICS countries now. Check this out. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. A friend just got back from BRICS, and she was, my God, have you ever been to Johannesburg and see what that city is like? And, again, but in our insular way of being, we centralize ourselves around all that our plutocrats tell us. And they don't tell us all the things that are slipping by us as the world goes on. And they suffice it to say, well, everybody wants to come to America. Yeah. The plutocrats and the, folks in South America, etc. Yeah, they're coming out here, but they don't tell you what's happening in BRICS. I want to ask you, how many Brazilians do you see flocking to the United States? How many South Africans do you see flocking to the United States? How many Russians, as bad as things are in Russia right now, flocking to the United States? I'm naming BRICS countries now. And Dr. Wolf, in the last interview that we did last week, actually, he told me something that kind of shocked me. And he said, remember what Biden talked about Russia and war, and how the war is going to bring down Russia? He says, Egberto, I want you to remember something. You remember the Depression? I said, yes. He said, remember what got us out of the Depression? Yeah, some of the work programs that Roosevelt did were good stopgap measures. But you know what really did it? And I said, oh my God, I know it, but I didn't really tie it to Russia. He said, exactly. World War II was the catalyst that got us out of the depression because of the massive manufacturing that had to occur. Everybody had a job, etc. And we all know that economics is determined based on the circulation of money. And man, did we have money circulated. And he said, and guess what's happening in Russia right now? And he said, has Russia caved yet? I kind of wondered how this war could last that long. And he said, come on. Russia is a country that occupies several time zones with a lot of natural resources. Why would they? I mean, they could stay in a state of war forever. They could outlast us in a state of war forever, And have you been to Moscow lately and see the style of living in Moscow lately? And then I kind of sat back and I'm like, my God, we continue to just buy what our mainstream media tells us. We have to stop it. We have to be real Americans for Americans and start looking out for Americans. You know who's looking out for Chinese? The country of China. China, they're doing what's right for their people. South Africa is doing what's right for its people. Brazil is doing what's right for its people. America is doing what's right for its oligarchy. It is something that is so hard to fathom. It is something that is so hard to fathom. And the reason I started with the EV is because we have Trump that comes in and he's talking about just wiping out green technology, getting free windmills. Texas produces 30-something% of its energy. This red state that loves to talk about, we are red and this and that, 30-something% of its energy is wind powered. Think about that. Oil state, the state that produces more oil than any other state. We are top notch in wind power. Wind power saved us during the last freeze. Okay. It was the gas generators that went out and our governor lied and came up and talked, the windmills froze. No. The gas lines that were not weathered froze. Did you know how much solar power we're getting? I mean, there's so much that we don't tell our people, and our mainstream media is derelict in its duty to not let our brothers and sisters in America see what other countries are doing that's putting them way ahead on the trajectory to be way ahead of us. And we continue to keep our people willfully ignorant. Why? So that we get a few billionaires and and all these folks that are protecting these billionaires and multi-millionaire, they have the false and gullible and childish belief that the reason they want to protect those guys is that someday they are going to be like those guys. We need to wake up, and we need to wake up quickly, because right now, with the election that is over and the proposals that Donald Trump is putting to fruition, what he's doing is putting us decades behind these countries. And when we talk about the other thing I learned from Dr. Richard Wolff recently, was that BRICS, its GDP far exceeds the GDP of G7. Put that in our pipes and let's smoke it, brothers and sisters. There's a lot of world around us, and we better start realizing it. And we better realize what our economic structure that enriches a few is doing to all of us and is doing to us as a country. And you know who knows the truth? Those same plutocrats. They know the truth, and they're keeping us uninformed.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.